when you were talking about the sides of the brain, what's the part of the child's brain that isn't fully developed until like they're in their 20s?
Yeah, so this is the whole thing with children is it's the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
It's the part that is the self-regulation, the emotional regulation, the decision making. So this is why it's developmentally normal. Little kids can't control their emotions. They're just giving it to you unfiltered. It is why your tweens backtalk to you. It is why your teens make decisions without understanding consequences. A lot of it is neurological. So obviously, if we can understand that more, we have more compassion in our approach to them, and hopefully we are kind of in a parenting role, almost like their prefrontal cortex while their own one is developing through childhood and adolescence.
Wow. So what is the age when it's kind of developed?
So it comes to foundational maturity at early adolescence. So obviously then they're starting to be able to make better decisions and have habits and control their emotions a little bit, but it doesn't come to full maturity until mid-20s.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What are some of the signs of overstimulation or chronic stress that you see?
Yeah. So in a moment of overstimulation, essentially what you might start to feel is brain fog, feeling like you can't intake any more information. I often joke it happens to me when all of my family members start talking to me all at the same time about
Yes,
different topics.
that's so
And I
true.
kind of understand it with my kids, but when my husband walks in and does the same thing while two other people are talking to me, I think, hang on, can't you see me? I can't. But then I'm always like, okay, everyone take a moment.
Yeah.
And then it can lead to feelings of that stress where you feel like your temperature is rising, you feel clammy hands, you feel like that moment of stress. And for many people, particularly for children, but even for adults, it can lead to a big emotional outburst. So it can lead to an angry outburst or crying or emotion. And it kind of has that big moment. And so that's essentially what happens when we experience overstimulation. For children, a lot of times we see it in babies and young toddlers where they have this big, what we think is a tantrum, but we know it's because they've skipped their nap or they haven't had enough sleep the night before. And we lovingly scoop them into our arms and take them for some rest. And it's like we assume that as they get older, they don't need it. And as we get older, we don't need that. And so obviously our role with children is to come alongside them and disciple them and to grow them and to help give good boundaries. That's really, really important. At the same time, it's also important that we have compassion that they are human beings, we are human beings. No one's a machine. We all have our moments. And so being able to come alongside and give them that break when they're overstimulated and give ourselves that break is really critical.
Why don't we give ourselves compassion like we do for toddlers? And honestly, specifically women as you go into perimenopause and menopause, and it's like a second puberty in reverse, and so much is going on. We never think that, oh, I'm just overtired and this is why. Or if we do think that, okay, I'm overtired and this is why, we berate ourselves and get mad at ourselves. Power through, have another coffee. Like, come on. As
Yeah.
opposed to, like you said, and this is what the Lord does too, scoops us up in his arms and holds us
Right.
compassionately and wants you just to rest. You need to rest.
I mean, speaking from my own experience and so many, many of the women that I've spoken to in the context of parenting, we just feel that sense of caretaking everyone in our world and everything in our world. And so when we want to be the strong one all the time, we want to be the one that keeps powering through. And we receive these messages from our culture about what a great woman looks like. And also the integration of technology has philosophically affected us in a way that I don't think we're aware of. We assume that we have to keep pace with machines because they're driving so much of our lives. We think, well, if everyone else is doing it, everyone else, but not everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is struggling as well. And so just having that, one of the activities I give people is suggesting if your best friend came to you, like that person that you just love, your best friend, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your sister, whoever comes to you and they were to tell you that they were going through the same situation you were going through and they were saying, I feel so bad because X, Y, and Z. What would you say to them? Would you berate them and say, yeah, come on, you should be doing better than that? Or would you actually just sit with them and say, it's so understandable that you feel the way that you do. I'm surprised you're coping as well as you are. And wouldn't you want to just do something for them? Give them a night off, responsibilities, cook them a meal, have them over to your house and love on them. And yet sometimes it's just so hard for us to extend that to ourselves.
It is.
Essentially, that's what our relationship with God does. He, like you said, brings us in and helps us feel like, hey, the weight of the world is not on your shoulders. You don't have to hold up the world.
Yeah, it's so true. He's doing that. That's the beauty in our relationship with the Lord, is that he's doing that. What are some more practical strategies for us to be able to manage our emotions, or parents to manage their emotions as they're managing their children's emotions?
Yeah. One of the strategies I talk about in the book is interrupt the buildup. So if we think about our emotions and those moments of eruption, almost like a volcano, is kind of a metaphor I talk a lot with children, is that it builds up, and then it explodes. And then we have this big, big moment of eruption. If you think about the top of the volcano erupting as like a 10 out of 10, that's when you've got to your level of stress. We want to have a think about what's happening when we're more at a 6 or a 7 out of 10, because parents in particular do not give themselves enough credit for how many times they've been patient before they exploded, how many times you held your tongue before you said something you wish you didn't, how many hours have gone through in the day where you've held everything together. And so what that's doing though is every time you're using your brain's energy to do that, every time you're holding your tongue, every time you're being patient, every time you are climbing, if you're not also taking breaks, you are climbing in that number. So you're going from maybe you start the day and you're a 0 out of 10, you're climbing. Every time you hold your tongue, it's a 1, it's a 2, it's a 3. And that's why a lot of our big emotions often happen towards the end of the day, because we've just been holding it in for so long. But essentially, the tool interrupt the build-up is paying attention to when you start to feel you're a 6 or a 7. You feel agitated, but you still feel like you're in control. You feel like, hey, I can think clearly, I can walk away. And that's the moment to go and do something that's almost like a pattern interrupt. It's taking time away from the situation that's stressful, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't need to be a half day at a day spa, although that's awesome. You need to do that too if
That'd
you
be
can.
great, right?
But it could just be as simple as I'm going outside to have a cup of tea, or I'm going to water the garden. You can run your wrists under cold water is something you can do in the moment. You can just go into the bathroom or escape from family for a moment and just run it under there for 2 minutes. That's a calming spot there on your wrists. Anything that you can do, you can pray, just anything you can do to pull yourself out of that feeling of stress and agitation so that you feel like you come back in a different emotional state. And then that takes you from the 6 or 7 down again. So you've got that breadth of capacity to help regulate.
And what I'm hearing you saying is that the key is to get that point, take that 5-10 minute break before you get to the 10. Because a lot of people are like, okay, I got to take a break. I'm out of here. But by that point, you've
Yes.
already erupted and there's
Correct.
just a mess everywhere.
Yes. And that's when repair is a great skill to have, is coming in
Yeah.
and, taking your time and apologizing. But yes, 100%. You want to take the break before you think you need it. And probably in your work too, you notice this. Most people only realize they need a break when all the red lights have turned on and everything's in crisis mode. But if
Yeah.
we get good at taking small breaks, especially, and bigger ones over time, before we hit those points, you'll actually find that you've hit them less.